Thank you. Good morning. I would like you to consider the words growth, promise, and beyond, the theme of today's conference. What an interesting choice of words as we begin Black History Month. Now, for those of you familiar with the history of Blacks in Canada, you'll nod your head as I walk you through our history. And for others, I would like to set the stage for your understanding of how we arrived at this point and where do we go from here. Now, Blacks arrived in Canada in a series of waves. The first documented occurrence of a Black person in Canada was the arrival of Matthew da Costa, the navigator on Samuel de Champlain's ship that arrived in Nova Scotia in 1608. The next wave was in the late 1700s after the American Revolution. The British gave passage to over 3,000 slaves and free Blacks who had remained loyal to the Crown. These Black loyalists, as we are aptly named, settled between the Maritimes and Lower Canada, which is now Ontario. The next wave was during the War of 1812. Over 2,000 Black refugees came to Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. Now, until the end of the American Civil War in 1865, over 30,000 slaves came to Canada via the Underground Railroad, with the promise of freedom and what was seen as a bright future. Now, after that, we've had Blacks coming to Canada, now looking for employment or jobs. So in the late 1800s, many Blacks migrated to Canada in search of work, and that was work with the railroad companies in the Ontario Western region as well as Quebec, or work with the mines in the Maritimes, or they moved in as farmers into Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. Now, the immigration of Blacks all but stopped about 1910. At that time, the Canadian government introduced what is now seen as very discriminatory legislation that limited immigration from races deemed undesirable. Luckily, by the time we got to the late 60s, early 70s, that legislation was removed and the doors opened up for immigration into Canada. I say all this, so I want to position for you, as Blacks, we celebrate more than a 400-year-old history as being part of Canada, being part of the fabric of as we've grown the Canadian landscape. Also, I want you to think about the Blacks who arrived. We had minimal supports and services, but we as a people have been able to leverage our skills, our knowledge, and our business know-how to set the stage for the future. Now, given even the fragmented past I've spoken to you about, we can point to and celebrate some Black business leaders who have laid the path for us. Names such as Mary Ann Shadd, the first female Black newspaper publisher in North America. Elijah McCoy, who was born in Canada, moved to the US. He's an inventor who revolutionized steam train technology. John Ware, an Alberta farmer who pioneered new agriculture techniques. Rufus Rockhead, who founded a legendary Montreal Jazz Club when we weren't owning jazz clubs or businesses at that time. Viola Desmond, who you all know as a human rights icon, but she was also an owner of Black beauty colleges. Thornton Blackburn, who launched Toronto's first taxi company. If you can imagine, the colors from his company are the colors that we use for TTC today. Michael Lee Chin, a name you might all know today. He's owner of a financial investment company and majority owner of the National Commercial Bank in Jamaica. These are but a few of the successful Black leaders, but it's indicative that when we as a group of people leverage our skills and knowledge, we're able to create successful businesses. Now, having set the stage for you of the arrival of Blacks in Canada and Black business achievements to date, I want to say what I'm really hopeful for as we stand here today is what's happened over the past year. However negative things have been, out of that has come this whole rebirth, this whole social change that presents a great opportunity for Black businesses today and beyond. How do we take these businesses that we see around us today, these Black businesses, and how do we grow them beyond our expectations with the promise of the support from the governments and the corporations that have put forward? I want to walk you through some of these really exciting opportunities that are available to Black business owners. We've heard the corporate pledges from a number of corporations across Canada and into the US about helping and supporting Black entrepreneurs. There's this inclusive procurement program that many don't even know about that's been around for 16 years in Canada, that again is looking at involving diverse business owners inclusive of Black business owners in growing their businesses. As well, think about the leveraging of the potential export opportunities that we really haven't taken advantage of, not to mention the utilization of government and business supports that enable businesses to grow. I want to break a little bit of that down for you because I think these are real opportunities that set the stage for the future. When I talk to you about corporate pledges, we've certainly heard about a number of corporations who are investing in growing our Black entrepreneurs. Think of somebody like Apple last year they announced a set of major new projects as part of its $100 million racial equity and justice initiative to help dismantle systemic barriers to opportunity and combat injustices faced by communities of colors. This is also inclusive of venture capital funding for Black and Brown entrepreneurs and inclusive procurement for Black-owned businesses. Accenture, they launched the Black Founders Development Program, which was a new initiative that would invest in and support Black technology startup founders and entrepreneurs via access to venture capital, corporate mentorship, and strategic connections with Accenture's business partners and their clients. Locally here, RBC pledged $100 million in small business loans over 5 years to Black entrepreneurs and another $50 million investment until 2025 to create opportunities for 25,000 Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Add to these the opportunities you perhaps have heard from West Hall and the Black North team. The future is bright. With the promise of this venture capital investment, the loans and mentorship, the big issue is now how do we help and how do we as Black businesses prepare ourselves to take advantage of these opportunities? Let's understand these pledges are real. The onus now moves on to you as a Black business owner to prepare yourself that as you connect with these organizations, you are successful in your ask. Let me talk to you a little bit about the inclusive procurement I mentioned. Inclusive procurement, you'll hear the words social procurement, exclusive procurement, supplier diversity. All those are about the same thing, the process of buying organizations, diversifying their supply chain, reaching out to those businesses that are underrepresented and not at the table, including them in the procurement initiative. Now, with this phenomenon of inclusive procurement, that began in the US about 50 years ago, when their government actually reached out because of the haves and the have-nots and said, we need to have more diversity at the table. Anyone doing business with the federal government must include these diverse groups in their business process. They were doing it 50 years ago. 16 years ago, we started in Canada. And it's still pretty much an unknown. People are saying, oh, that really happens. I can talk to you about organizations such as RBC, BMO, Ryerson University, Ford, GM, Accenture, EY, Kellogg's, Nutrien, the list goes on. These are organizations who want to have these underrepresented companies, Black businesses, women-owned businesses, LGBT-owned, veteran-owned, person with disability, Indigenous-owned. They want to include them in the procurement process. Now that's on the private procurement side. On the public side, we have the City of Toronto, we have the City of Brampton, we have Office of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise. They as well are looking at how do they include diversity in their supply chain. So while we started out slowly in Canada in this initiative, it's now ramped up considerably. Now the public sector that I've mentioned, they've been new to this game. And so they're doing it. Toronto has a policy, City of Toronto has a policy, City of Brampton has a policy. The federal government has pilot projects. I'm sure if you haven't seen it in your mailbox, that's come up most recently. But these pilot projects are saying, and they're targeted specifically at Black entrepreneurs. How do we get them into the supply chain for the federal government? Now, what's interesting is if we can break the federal government open to opening up procurement to diverse suppliers, in particular Black suppliers, they are the biggest procurement organization in Canada. Can you imagine what will come out of that? Suffice to say, I'm a huge proponent of the inclusive procurement. I've seen what has benefited, how Black businesses have benefited in the US, how they've been able to grow, they've been able to bid on contracts, win contracts, grow their own business by hiring new people and putting investment back into the community. That's exciting to watch. In Canadian landscape, I've seen the spend with diverse-owned businesses grow from $400 million up to $1 billion a year. And that's just but a tip of the iceberg. These are things that I see as real opportunities to grow business and grow the Canadian economy. Let me just tell you that in the US, when I talk about inclusive procurement, there's a group of 29 private sector organizations that call themselves a $1 billion roundtable. They spend more than $1 billion a year with diverse businesses. Think of the impact if we had something like that in Canada and the number of businesses we can grow and expand. Think of the impact on our communities and on the economy on the whole. I also don't want people to lose track of the expert opportunities available to grow your business. When you think about in the past, doing business cross borders or in another country came with its own set of complications. It was costly to travel, it required time away from your business, and there was all this done with no guarantee of success. In effect, the return on investment was kind of low. So you were taking a risk. One of the positive things that have emerged from moving to this virtual environment is the elimination of some geographic barriers. Given that we're all working virtually, if you're able to move your product and service across borders and still drive business, the opportunity to expand your territory may be an option I want you to think about. Secondly, if you pivoted your business, does your new business model now include regional, national, international? If so, the opportunities abound. The interesting thing is that not only is Canada rebuilding its economy, this economic rebuild is happening worldwide, and the opportunity to grow or expand your business can be a real consideration. Let me just say to you that the Canadian Trade Commission Services would be very supportive of any organization who has their eye to expanding your business beyond borders. Our government continues to sign a number of trade agreements globally, and they're looking to have our Canadian businesses, they're looking for us to move out and actually expand our models. We've been asked at CAMC, my organization, we've been asked to share our findings from our suppliers regarding what are some of the barriers they see to trade and how do we help them mitigate those barriers such that they can go global. As we speak, virtual trade missions are going on. The government is open to supporting your business going global, and if you're interested, just let us know. The first step begins with you in making that initial foray over the border. But I also don't want you to forget about all the government and business resources that are out there that will help you grow your business. Running a business is challenging, we all know that. Growing your business is even more challenging. Let me just give you a stat. Even though 1.2 million Canadians identify as Black, that's about 3.5% of our population. In this study, they only found about 2,000 Black-owned businesses of significant scale. Why is that the case? Because I say Black entrepreneurs are facing challenges as it relates to marketing, as it relates to networking and learning opportunities, as it relates to finance. Now, this study was also done prior to COVID, so I can only imagine post-COVID that the needs and the resources required to maintain and or grow your business have intensified. While our government has been very clear on wage subsidies and rent subsidies, they are a small part of the picture to help you maintain and grow your business. As I've emphasized to you previously, there's a number of corporate members who have pledged their support and resources to assist Black businesses grow and prosper. And now it's time for you to assess what supports you require, determine exactly which ones will help you, and reach out to get those to help you grow, reestablish your business. I want to say that these corporations have made their commitments, and they're sincere about these commitments. I've had Apple come to the door and say, we are looking to do business with Black entrepreneurs. How do we make that happen? I want to say to you, whether you're a Black entrepreneur, a diverse entrepreneur, and I'm using the term Black, we're a Black History Month, but a lot of these, they've been blown up, they're available for diverse entrepreneurs. The window for the opportunity is wide open. And it's vital that you as a Black business owner step towards to take advantage of these opportunities of what's on the table. Now, as you build and grow your business, the key element for success continues to be an ongoing assessment of the relevancy of your product or service. As our world has literally changed in front of our eyes, it's vital that you continue to assess your product or service to ensure that what we need and what we want, as well as how we receive it, matches up to where we are now, because that has changed. Also, I want you to make sure that you align your product and service to the cost, quality, and service required. Now, while cost is one aspect of the business equation, the delivery of high quality service is equally, if not more so important. Providing that right product with the exceptional service leads to the creation of value, and that sets you up as a leader in this whole business community. That's a recipe for repeat business, and that's a recipe for success. Now, I've spent a lot of time talking about as I've been talking about corporations, I'm talking about what works with becoming a leader in private procurement, but it also similarly works in the public procurement space. We know that municipal or federal governments are focused on social procurement. And while I have not worked a large extent with the provincial government, I do know that if it works for the federal, then the provincial government is going to look to actually bring that on board because success begets success. The time for the growth and future are now. The time for your growth and success is now as a business owner. So while I have identified a range of corporate and government opportunities that are available that may or may not fit you, I'd encourage you not to forget the opportunities right in front of you. Because everyone looks at the RBCs, the FCAs, all the big ones, but look around, even look at the chamber, look at the business you interact with at the chamber. As a member of chamber, there's plenty of opportunities in your ranks. I would encourage you to make an effort to do business with other local, diverse, Black-owned businesses. There is business to be had among small to medium-sized business owners. And when I go to trade shows, people tend to go to the booths. The real work, the real business is in the hallways, it's in the aisleways, the people you meet there. Growing your business and building your capacity can be accomplished by doing business with other local, diverse Black businesses, as well as with larger corporations. Do not forget the advantage of this low-hanging fruit, the people you know. I want you to think about sharing your resources. At this particular time now, this may be even more an opportunity to share excess resources with other local, diverse, and Black business owners. It could be a quid pro quo situation that works for you. I share my warehouse, you share your delivery truck, things like that. It's these type of mutually beneficial alliances that help and to grow your business, and it's an easy way to move forward. Also, think about teaming with other local, diverse, or Black businesses to bid on projects. And you can do this because the sizing might be such you're too small. You said that project's too big for me, but when you bid with someone else, you might be of a larger scale enough of size to bid on that project. Or you may now have complementary services. You're able to bid on the full project because they bring this, you bring this, and that's a match made in heaven. Think about these opportunities in front of you. I do want to say teaming is really important, but when you team, understand that partnering and alliances are not always easy. So make sure you're sincere about the relationship, you're willing to partner, and you're committed to make it work. Take your time, do a little bit of rigor around that, but when it works, it really works. As I conclude, I want to reiterate, I started off talking about growth, promise, and beyond, and as it relates to the Black business owners. I hope when you think about growth, you consider the growth of Black business from our humble beginnings to where we are today. I want you to, when you consider the word promise, think about the many pledges from corporations and the promise of great opportunities and great things to come. And when you think about the word beyond, I want you to think about what can be achieved beyond your wildest expectations. I presented to you all the ingredients of what I consider an extremely successful future. The future is yours for the taking. I ask you to step into the light. Thank you.